Have you ever noticed that your priorities start to shift as you get older? The things that once seemed vital, like having a big group of friends, might not feel as important anymore. And here's the honest truth. You don't really need friends after 70. That might sound surprising at first, but when you take a step back, it makes sense. Embracing independence and focusing on your own peace of mind can be one of the best choices you'll ever make. In today's video, we're going to explore 6 reasons why friendships may no longer be necessary in your later years. We'll take a look at how your mindset, your freedom, and even your health can benefit when you stop stressing about keeping up friendships that no longer bring value. This isn't about being lonely. It's about living life on your own terms, without the pressure and expectations that social circles often bring. Stick with me until the end, because realizing that you don't have to maintain every old friendship might just free you in a way you didn't know you needed. Let's dive in. Number 1. You don't have to prove anything to anyone anymore. One major reason why friendships aren't as necessary after 70 is that you're no longer living in a phase where outside validation drives you. Think back to your younger years. How often did friendships feel tied to fitting in, building a reputation, or keeping up appearances? Whether it was impressing coworkers, being invited to gatherings, or simply staying in the loop, there was always some pressure to belong. But now, that pressure's gone. You've already done the work, lived through life's chapters, and built your story. The opinions of others don't define your worth anymore. You've earned the right to live without needing anyone's approval. At this age, you know that real happiness doesn't come from being accepted by a group. It comes from knowing who you are and being comfortable in your own skin. You don't need to collect friendships for the sake of image or social standing. Let me tell you about Ron, a 72-year-old who spent decades in a fast-paced career. He was always surrounded by coworkers and industry friends. But once he retired, most of those relationships faded away. At first, he tried to reconnect, but it felt forced. That's when it hit him. Those friendships were tied to his job, not his heart. Instead of chasing shallow connections, Ron turned inward. He picked up old hobbies, traveled solo, and stopped worrying about what people thought. He let go of the need to be seen and liked, and the freedom that followed, that was the real reward. Because here's the truth. When you no longer look for others to validate your existence, you reclaim your time and your energy. You stop investing in friendships that were never built to last, and you finally start living just for you. Number 2. You value peace more than company. As you age, something shifts. Peace becomes more rewarding than constant company. In your earlier years, being surrounded by people might have felt essential. There were parties, get-togethers, and busy schedules. But as you grow older, something deeper begins to matter. Quiet. And not just any kind of quiet. The kind where you feel calm, grounded, and unbothered by drama or expectations. Even healthy friendships can sometimes come with responsibilities. Returning calls, accepting invites, remembering birthdays. It all takes effort. And after a certain point, that effort starts to feel heavier than helpful. You don't need to spend your days checking in with people just to maintain ties. You've reached a time where your hours belong to you, and you get to choose how they're spent. Take Carol, age 75. For most of her adult life, she had a full calendar. Weekly lunches, book clubs, holiday parties. But over the years, the joy she once got from these activities started to fade. Conversations felt stale. Many friends only called to vent or gossip. She realized she wasn't looking forward to these meetups anymore. She was just showing up out of habit. So Carol made a change. She stopped saying yes out of guilt. She let calls go to voicemail. She created space. And in that space, she found something she hadn't felt in years. Peace. She went for long walks. She picked up painting again. She started reading before bed instead of scrolling through messages. And that quiet? It wasn't lonely. It was healing. This stage of life isn't about isolation. It's about intention. Choosing peace over pressure. Choosing your own rhythm over someone else's. And when you find that rhythm, it becomes easier to let go of friendships that no longer bring joy. So if you've ever felt drained by keeping up with others, remind yourself, it's okay to choose stillness. It's okay to want quiet. You've earned it. If you're still here and finding these thoughts helpful, type number 2 in the comments to let me know. And if you haven't subscribed yet, hit that button and the bell so you won't miss the next one. Let's keep going. Number 3. Less friendship, less disappointment. One of the toughest lessons in life is realizing that not every friendship is meant to last. Over the years, you've probably seen it. Close friends becoming distant, meaningful connections slipping away, and relationships that turn out to be one-sided. By the time you hit 70, you start to understand something important. Fewer friendships can mean fewer letdowns. Let's face it, every friendship has expectations. You're expected to check in, listen, show up, but what happens when those expectations aren't met? You feel hurt, disappointed, even betrayed. You make the call, but they never call back. You go the extra mile, but it's never returned. You feel like you're the only one trying. And at this point in life, do you really need that kind of emotional burden? Absolutely not. Let me tell you about Jim, a 79-year-old who's been through it all. Over the years, he watched long-term friendships slowly fade. Some drifted apart naturally. Others ended because Jim finally realized he was always the one reaching out. He used to take it personally. He'd ask himself, "What did I do wrong?" But then he realized it wasn't him. It was that he had stopped tolerating one-sided relationships. And that clarity, it gave him peace. Jim no longer spends time chasing people who've moved on. He focuses on the few connections that truly matter. Maybe it's a sibling, an old friend who always shows up, or even just the comfort he's found in his own company. This doesn't mean cutting everyone off. It just means choosing quality over quantity. The people who remain in your circle, they matter. And those who faded, they served their purpose. You don't have to feel guilty for letting go. You're not being bitter. You're being wise. At this age, you deserve to protect your peace, your energy, and your heart. So the next time you feel disappointed by a friend who's drifted away, remind yourself, less really can be more. Number 4. Your time becomes more precious. As you grow older, you begin to understand that time is your most valuable asset. When you were younger, it probably seemed like time was endless. More days to catch up with friends, more energy to keep up social plans, and plenty of chances to worry about who's in your life. But once you hit 70, that outlook changes. You begin to realize that every hour counts, every day matters, and with that awareness comes a new mindset. You start becoming selective about how and with whom you spend your time. Friendships, while meaningful, require effort. There are calls to return, meetups to schedule, and emotional energy to give. And although some relationships are absolutely worth the effort, many are simply habits left over from the past. Connections kept out of routine rather than real enjoyment. At this point, it's okay to ask yourself, is this a good use of my time? Does this relationship lift me up, or does it feel like another box to check? Let's look at Robert, an 81-year-old who used to be incredibly social. He went to weekly dinners, made regular phone calls, and kept in touch with a large group of people. But eventually, something shifted. What used to energize him began to wear him down. Social events felt like chores, and conversations became repetitive. One day, after sitting through a lunch that felt more like an obligation than enjoyment, he had a realization. He wanted something different. So Robert began choosing differently. He stopped saying yes out of guilt. He politely declined invites that didn't excite him. He spent more time reading, walking outdoors, and learning new things at his own pace. And guess what? He felt more fulfilled, not less. What he discovered was simple. When you free yourself from draining commitments, you gain the time to do what actually makes you happy. No more pretending, no more playing along, just time spent the way you want. So, next time you're deciding whether to keep up with a certain friendship, Ask yourself, is this time well spent? Because at this point in life, your time is truly yours, and how you use it is entirely up to you. If you're still watching and enjoying these thoughts, comment number 4 below. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on the bell for more. Let's keep going. Number 5. True companionship comes from within. One of the biggest misunderstandings about aging is the idea that you need a wide circle of friends to be happy. But the truth is, the most important relationship you'll ever have is the one you build with yourself. By 70, you've lived through decades of lessons. You've grown, evolved, and gotten to know yourself better than anyone else. And with that self-knowledge comes a quiet confidence. You are enough. We're often told that happiness depends on social interaction, that being alone means being lonely. But that's not necessarily true. There's a big difference between being alone and feeling lonely. Some of the most content people in their later years have found peace in solitude, not because they've given up on others, but because they've learned to enjoy their own company. Take Linda, 77, who once thought being surrounded by people was the key to feeling fulfilled. Her days were packed with calls, visits, and group activities. But despite the busyness, she felt emotionally drained more often than not. Eventually, she realized that many of those relationships were built on routine, not real depth, and she felt like she was constantly adjusting who she was to keep others happy. So she made a shift. She started spending time with herself, just herself. She went for solo walks, read books at quiet cafes, and journaled at night. She stopped filling every moment with social noise and started tuning in to her own thoughts. And to her surprise, she felt lighter, happier, more connected to who she really was. That's the secret. The most reliable, honest, and fulfilling companion is you. When you stop needing others to make you feel whole, you unlock an entirely new kind of freedom. You're no longer dependent on external approval or attention. You begin to enjoy your own voice, your own rhythm, your own peace. And here's the beauty of it. When you're truly comfortable with yourself, you naturally attract better relationships. The kind that doesn't drain you, the kind that respects your boundaries and values your presence. So if you're worried that stepping back from social circles might leave you feeling alone, remember this: you are your own best company, and that realization is one of the greatest gifts of aging. Number 6. Letting go opens the door to a more fulfilling life. One of the most freeing choices you can make in your 70s is to let go of draining friendships, outdated expectations, and the pressure to always stay connected. When you release those old obligations, you give yourself something invaluable, a chance to live your life on your own terms. A lot of people continue friendships out of habit. They keep attending social events, returning calls, and entertaining company simply because it's what they've always done. But what if you didn't have to? What if you stopped feeling guilty for letting go of relationships that no longer bring joy and instead started focusing on what really fulfills you? Consider Alan, a 78-year-old who spent much of his retirement staying socially busy. He kept in touch with old friends, filled his calendar with outings, and showed up to every get-together. But somewhere along the way, he realized it was starting to feel like a burden. He wasn't energized. He wasn't uplifted. He felt more like he was checking boxes than enjoying his life. So Alan made a shift. He pulled back. He said no more often. And he put his energy into the things he truly cared about: taking long walks, learning new skills, and spending quiet mornings with a good cup of coffee. And here's what he found. Less social pressure meant more freedom. Less noise meant more peace. Letting go doesn't mean shutting yourself off. It means making room for the things that bring you real joy. It means recognizing that your happiness doesn't depend on staying socially busy. It depends on feeling aligned with your values and your pace. Here's what changes when you embrace that mindset. You stop worrying about who's calling or who's not. You find beauty in small, quiet moments. You begin to live for yourself, not for others. So if you've been wondering whether it's okay to let go, let this be your answer. Yes, it is. Because once you do, you make space for something better. If you're still watching and this message spoke to you, comment number 6 down below. And if you haven't yet, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell. It helps us keep creating videos that truly matter. As we close this video, let's take a moment to reflect. The idea that you don't need friends after 70 isn't about giving up on people. It's about embracing a new kind of freedom. You've spent decades building relationships, meeting expectations, and showing up for others. Now is the time to show up for yourself. By stepping away from friendships that no longer bring value, you gain peace, you gain time, and most importantly, you gain yourself. So, which part of this video meant the most to you? Did one of these ideas shift your perspective? Maybe you've already begun letting go of old connections. Or maybe this message gave you the courage to finally prioritize your own happiness. We would love to hear your thoughts. Leave a comment below and share one thing that stood out to you today. Your words mean a lot to us. If this video helped or inspired you, please like, share, and subscribe. Your support means the world and keeps us motivated to make more meaningful content. Thanks for being here with us. We'll see you in the next one.